Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Thursday. My. We're almost close to the end of the first week. Crazy, I know. But we're live at home. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, I would advise to see if you could like and subscribe. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. The channel does wonders if you do it that way. So I will go ahead and with that. I'm not going to really budget the punches. If you missed the previous videos from either Monday or my birthday, Tuesday, or yesterday, you feel free to check those out under the on the YouTube channel. And so, I just want to say, let's get started. I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. First, for starters, I did a little discussion. I said that we were going to start out with one of these pieces people have asked me about. And the one question it asked is regarding Red Hat licenses. So we'll start. So I guess we'll start there first. So again, this is the road to, we call this the road to RHCA, which is Red Hat Certified Architect. We're going to be spending a lot of time for the next, I'd say a couple months on RHCA concepts. And the reason being is that RHCA is entry level, very entry level exam before you get into RHCE and we start getting into specialty exams, and we start getting a lot more advanced and a lot more convoluted. So I'm going to, you see this right here, I'm bringing this up because I wanted to talk about a little bit about Red Hat licenses. And I know that it kind of goes back to yesterday when we were installing Red Hat, and we had this one issue yesterday of, how do you do, what licenses does Red Hat have for a Red Hat account. So usually what I have to do is I just do a Google search. I'll close this out. And go over, let's search for licenses. And if you go inside, so remember I said yesterday, if you missed yesterday's video, definitely you want to check out that video. So you get your concise and everything. If you click on here, this first link right here about Red Hat Enterprise subscriptions. And this is a how you can it's a yearly subscription basically, but it's what they're doing. So I think this is, so if you look over, let's go back. I'm sorry, I went a little too quick, but if you go over here, let's say you wanted Red Hat Enterprise Linux for virtual data centers, it starts at $2,500. But the thing about it is it's $2,500 a year. Not a perpetual license. So you have to pay for this every year. Now you do get, it can update support, you get high availability, you can get technical support and all that good stuff. Basically, all I'm going to say is, in a nutshell, if you know what you're doing, you can actually just download a copy of CentOS and do the exact same thing that Red Hat does. It's just Red Hat just has a special license because you're basically paying for the support. But this is like $2,500 every year. But again, even though it's $2,500 every year, compared to how much if we were doing a Microsoft setup, would that cost be? It's like night and day what the cost is on a per year or a couple year basis, because everything is going subscription. Now for hypervisors and all that stuff. So if you physical servers, you would say configure. Goes into configure Red Hat Enterprise Linux server. And if I click over here, you're just basically paying for the support. That's all of this. You could do self-support if you know what you're doing, and this will say, hey, if you can do the self-support option for $349, but as you can see, it says it's not intended for production environments. So if you want, if you kind of know what you're doing, but you just need some extra support, is $800. $800 every year. That's the standard. Again, this will not be on the RHCA, but it is something to consider if you're going into a production environment and you want to roll this out. Alright, let's go back. So, and it just depends on what the user what your needs are, what your users look like, and all that good stuff. So these are a once a year price. These are not a perpetual license. These are all subscriptions now. That is how Red Hat is doing their licensing now. But it's still, in the grand scheme, it's still cheaper than, you know, dealing with Microsoft subscription. Now, if you're using the developer subscription, you do get up to 1 free license. If you go back down here, click over here, it's no cost. It gives you some information on how it works, the developer program, which is the subscription that I use, and I'm getting given everything that someone with a Red Hat license has. It's just that I don't get any support and all that stuff. It's designed for individual developers, but it's also good for folks who, like myself, who want to test out the product, see what it looks like and all that stuff. But honestly, like I said before, if you know what you're doing and you don't need any support, get yourself a CentOS distribution, and you do. It's literally the exact same thing that Red Hat does. I'm not going to lie to you. So that's that. Let's get out of this. And we are going to continue what we were doing yesterday. One of the things that we were doing yesterday, and if I could absolutely describe what we were doing yesterday, we were having a lot of fun yesterday. So let's start by doing, let's see. Now, one thing I forgot to mention this on yesterday, but I am going to mention today. If you remember yesterday, this is what we were getting into. We were describing this yesterday. So if I do grep by itself, and then type in sent, wildcard. Alright, there's an error there. Let's add another dash. But anyway, notice nothing came up. Now, why, you may ask why that is. You ask yourself, you know, why that is. The reason that didn't come up is because, and only one reason, and one reason only, and that one reason is because, remember I said yesterday, Linux is case sensitive. And so by default, unless you type it exactly as how you intended it, nothing will show. Now, this is the one thing I did see last night when I was testing a few things. If I add a -I, which is, then -I basically means it doesn't matter how I type this will still come up. You see what I mean? This will still come up even though I typed this capitalized originally. So if you don't do it with -I flag, you basically have to type it exactly as how you've written it before. And sometimes we get sidetracked and we just type things on the regular, and we're trying to do things so quickly to get things done because our backs are against the wall. And then we're wondering, well, why is it that it didn't come up? Well, that's why. It's because, you know, Linux is case sensitive. So let's boot up these lovely VMs here, and I'm going to show you a few other little tricks up my sleeve today. Today I'm going to actually work in the CentOS VM today. So let's go ahead and do bash start CentOS VM1. Alright, so that string is booted. If we do install, right. So now I'm starting to narrow it down. Even the fact that normally I used to list all of them, but now I've gotten to the point now. I'm like, if I can just use the -I flag, it just goes exactly which VM I'm looking for, and I just do sudo viewer -f1, and there she is. That is the CentOS system that I had set up yesterday. We set both of these up yesterday. We know how to set we should pretty much, throughout yesterday's videos, we gotta know how to set these up for the most part, right? So, through NKVM. But I didn't really go too deep into how to set these up yesterday because we just set up only what we need. Because I'm going to set up a separate video in the future where we're going to talk a different series on how to set up KVM, because KVM, there's a lot to it, and there's just quite a bit of things you can do in it, and there's several different parameters to the point where I can actually script out the entire process. Like, no joke. But anyway, I digress. Let's do this. Let me go into logging in here. I'm just going to try and log in. Sorry about that, guys. Just getting everybody sort of squared away here. But if I do, let's log in here first, and I'll explain what we're doing here. I want to go into some. By the way, I should probably have done this at the beginning of this series, but I'm going to do it now. I know we've been going all over the place, but I'm coming with this tutorial with a mindset that you have a foundation at this point, at day 4, that you have a big foundation level knowledge of the Linux command line. We did a synopsis of a lot of the commands that are important back on Tuesday, but if you are still struggling with that concept of those basic commands, I highly recommend you refer back to Tuesday's video. It does go into those. We go into those basic commands and doing all that stuff. Okay, so now, so I'm not. This is a synopsis. It's just the baseline commands that you need to be successful. So that being said, we're not going to go into those commands here. Because they've been addressed back on Tuesday. There are other websites out there that you can go to that actually describe those commands, the basic commands, in more detail. And I'll probably post them in the description of some of those ones where you can get to those basic commands if you need a refresher. But at this point, we're taking it to the next level. Alright? So now, one of the things I wanted to get into is repositories, and more about DNF, because we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday, but we didn't really go in much detail with it. But let's bring up the exam objectives, and one of the objectives is, and I'll show you, one of the objectives is this one. We're going to go back to this one. Today I'm going to focus on this objective. We're probably not going to really get into this objective too much. These objectives too much. We're going to save this for tomorrow, my favorite day of the week, which is Friday. I'm going to modifying the system bootloader to troubleshoot an issue. We're going to save that. We're going to probably combine that one with this one because they kind of correlate to all these correlate to each other. So we're going to save that for tomorrow. We're going to focus on this section right here. This is super important. And also, we're going to focus on SSH because I wanted to show you if, let's say, SSH and all that, if I wanted to connect to another system and I wanted to update these packages. So these are the main two pieces that I'm going to go into today, sort of. Actually, no, because the description says users and actually it says users and permissions. So that's what we're going to really focus on, so to speak. I'm gonna try and focus on some of that stuff today. But I'm not gonna lie to you. This is bread and butter. This is the one thing that I like. I'm gonna actually focus on DNF today. So it's gonna be DNF and SSH. Those are gonna be the two that we focus on today. I'm gonna save the users for tomorrow. So because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of different things attached to it, so they kind of correlate to each other. But anyway, let's do this. Let's do sudo. So to update packages, remember we described this yesterday when we do let's just refresh, which gives me the most up-to-date packages possible. Let's do -y with the -y flag, which basically forces it, and then nothing to do. Let's say we would run upgrade, which upgrades the cache. And as you can see, there's nothing there. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I mention about SSH? We're going to go over SSH today. Well, part of the exam is, and if you notice in the objectives, I'm going to bring this screen back. It says, install these software packages from the Red Hat network, a remote repository, or from the local file system. So, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to go over this. So, this is what I want to do. First, what I want to find out, again, we're not going to go over this part now, so don't worry about this part right now. We're just going to find out what the IP address is of this machine is, which is 192.168.122.216. So that's the IP address right there. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to copy the an ISO file to demonstrate how you can do a local repository. Now, yes, on the exam you will be asked. You're going to be on the exam. You need to know how to set up a local repository. You will not have access as far as subscription manager, which is another option you can do, which is do Red Hat way. Red Hat way, of course, is subscription manager, which I'm going to demonstrate on the host side of things. So subscription manager, and I'm just going to type in my password. So this is what they're talking about when it comes to the actual subscription that you have. And then if you want to do subscription manager repos, and what it normally does is going to list all the repositories that I'm entitled to use under the Red Hat subscription that I have. But of course, it's giving me full access. If we want to make this a little easier to read, just do the same thing and type it in this. Okay, and then I just type in for each. And give it a moment. Okay, so these are all of the repositories you can demand in these. It gives you different RPMs and stuff. If you needed to install like a module, like a repository or something like that, if you want to list all of these. So let's say that I wanted to. Let's do this. I'm going to do something a little special. So let's say, for instance, so those are different repositories that we have access to. So subscription manager is one way. If we did sudo dnf repo list, and it's the repo list. So if you go into this directory, there's just nothing in there. Okay. So if let's do repo list combined. Okay. So if you do repo list together, what it's going to show me is all my repositories that I have set up on this machine. And it's pulling from, if we go to this page, we can do either the host or the VM, it doesn't matter. Let's bring the VM over. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate this more in the VM. As you can see, it'll be the same way on your CentOS machine. If you do sudo dnf repo list, as you can see there, those at the bottom, as you see there, those are all the repositories that I have available. Okay, so these are the ones that I have available to me right now. So there's only 3 different repositories, so to speak. Now, if and where they're pulling from, you ask. Well, if we go to CD, etc, it gives us the Etsy directory, and then go through and go to yum.repos.d. And if you look, see how you see those 2 files ending in .repo? Those are where the those repos are stored. That's where they're pulling from. Those repo files in that yum.repos.d directory within Etsy. Now, do I want to? If I want to see what's in there, what's on that file, just do cat centos.repo, and what it'll do, if you type it over a little bit more, it'll show you exactly what's how they're configured, the name and everything, the meta link on where they're coming from, the GPG key if you have it. Which, by the way, something I should probably mention now. If this is, and I'll show you all how we can set up a local repository. On the exam, it's going to be a little different. I can't really describe what they're going to set up on the exam for because of non-disclosure agreement reasons, things like that. But I can tell you this, that what I can tell you is that you will need to know how to set up a local repository. They're going to give you the source now of where it's going to come from, and you've got to add it and not it. Okay, so this is what we need to do. This is what I'm going to do the local repository. Now, I don't want you to need to panic. We're going to go over a command we haven't really do a command we haven't really gone over yet, but it is an RHCA objective, and that is being able to SSH into the other machine. So I'm going to type in our IP. We're going to try and go into it. Now, there's a way you can set it by host name, but we're not going to go over that right now. We'll get to it when we get to SSH. But anyway, let's do 192.168.122.216. So you just need, basically, again, and I reiterated at the beginning of the video, I'm assuming that you have some network knowledge. I'm assuming that you have some network-based knowledge. But we'll get into that when we get into networking. I'll go in more detail. I'll give you a foundation of how IP addresses work. If you're coming from Windows Server or you're coming from Windows machine and you know about IP addresses, this should be a cakewalk. But anyway, let's say the authenticity of the host cannot be established, and it'll come up with this, and it'll say, "Are you sure you want to continue?" I'm just going to say yes. Properly added to the list of known hosts. Okay. Just there, and I'm SSH onto that other machine. So if I want, I'm going to make. So by the way, this is I SSH'd into. As crazy as it sounds, I actually just SSH'd into that VM that you just saw listed here. Again, we'll go more into SSH a bit later because there's a lot more to it than you might realize. But anyway, just for now, this is how you would SSH into a machine. There's a couple more parameters. Again, we'll go over that when we get to SSH. Now, I'm going to go ahead and create a directory. Let's see, do a front working directory. Okay, I'm in my home directory. Alright, so let's do sudo make dir. I'm just going to take a dash here. Actually, let's see, I don't think I need sudo for this. I don't think I need sudo. If you, by the way, best practices, best security practices, you don't need to use sudo, don't do it. So, you'll use even when you do user permissions, what I mean. But, let's see, make directory, we would call this, isos, right? Just make a isos, and dash yes. Okay, so you go through. As you can see, there's the ISOs directory that I just created. So now, remember that ISO that we set up yesterday? If you don't remember, if you haven't seen that video from yesterday, I highly recommend you check that out. But let's go back. I'm gonna exit out of this machine just for a second, and let's do SCP. Let's see if we get to our downloads folder. Dash 9. Let's see, documents. Rep. There she is. Okay, so you got two options there. It's actually two options, but I can move. Let's see if I can move that file over. I'm gonna see SCP. Let's see if we can copy that over. Downloads. Stop. Take my time because it's just a very lengthy where this file is stored, so just bear with me. Let's see. 1.1. And remember when I created that ISOs, that folder, that directory that I created on the other machine? Yeah, hold on. Sorry about that, guys. So, I'm going to go ahead. I'm gonna set all this up, right? So let's say I make this little change. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, put it in 192.168.122.216. And I'm just going to copy that over to the other machine. Now watch. I'm going to now the other way I can do this is that let's see. I put it in ISOs, and guess what? Of course, that's permissions denied. So let's put this. And it'll say permissions denied. Of course, it's going to say that. Of course, it's going to say that. It's the ISOs directory. So if it was a root within the root directory, of course I was going to give it that error message. So once we get to this, all I'm doing is, and I'll show you a little bit later on how we could set these up. And with that, what we're going to do is once we set this up, I'm going to set all that up. So see how. So now when we SSH back into that machine, alright, when we SSH into this machine, okay, when we SSH into here, guess what we're going to do now? ISOs. See? There goes our ISO file that I copied over via SCP. SCP is where you copy files, SSH is how you connect to a machine. The reason that I was getting this error up at the top here is because this was the root directory, so don't do it that way. But anyway, let's start. I'm gonna go into we're just gonna keep this a little simple today. But basically, I'm just gonna go mount-o. So this is one way of doing it. But then you have to mount it. There's loop ISOs, GL, whoops, base OS, 9.1, x86, 64, DVD, that ISO. I'm gonna mount this to ISO. Alright, let's do this. Let me make this a pseudo mount. Yeah, so this is how you mount a file, by the way, if you want it just a temporary thing. I'm gonna mount this over to, actually let's make a mount directory. Why not? Let's do a mount directory. Within it, make dir and then we're gonna do sudo mount -o loop isos isos, and then I want to do rel -base os that's 9.1. Whoops. Hold on. So it looks like I'm having to type this out, I guess. Okay. 64. And again, if you were to do this, is if you want to do this. I'll show you another way in a second how we can make this work. But basically, I'm just going to mount it over to okay, and then I'll just set the boot device on. I'll just set you up. That boot device. What is that? Why is it doing that? Alright, we gotta do a little troubleshooting. We'll figure out why this didn't work. And I'm gonna come back. Let me see what's going on here. Why is it not? Failed to set up the loop device, which basically means that it didn't set up the looping correctly. But this is honestly the better way to go about this. Is going to sudo vim etc fstab. Honestly, this is the best way to go about it. Actually, we don't even need to do that. Just do this. Echo. CD. See how I create. Oh. I know why I failed. Because it's not in the right directory. It's called troubleshooting, man. It's called troubleshooting. Basically, all we've got to do is just check this. Because we created it in the home directory. Remember, there's no mount point. The mount point doesn't exist. But if you... so see what I just did? I just mounted that over to our rel 9. So now if I wanted to go into rel 9, right? So the pot thickens. So basically CD rel 9, because we made this in our home directory. And if you want to see, this is the files that are over there, which is AppStream and base OS. You basically, what you have to do it locally, you have to set up 2 of these. So I'm going to show you how to do one of them, which is the base OS and the AppStream. And that's basically it. So, and essentially what we have to do is go to Vim, etc, go to, do this. I'm going to make one of these. Now, in production, I would not do it this way. I'll show you what I mean by that. But in production, sudo vim etc yum.repos.d and base os.repo. Now you're probably wondering how you set these up. So first, I'm just going to press I here. I'm going to type in base OS. Okay. So you gotta make sure this is base. Whoops. I'd say base OS. And then put name equals base OS here. I think. Enabled. Set this to 1. And then set this to 1, and then you want to set GPG check, set that to 0. And then there's one other little thing. Oh, that's right, which is file, which we'll call it rel 9. Base base. Well, you do rel 9 base OS, and then which is where this is being pushed from, and then basically what you're supposed to do. Oh, all right, that's right. We're on the right track. And then you DNF clean all, and then DNF update refresh. URL. Okay. Alright, I think I know what's going on here. So pretty much. Alright, I think I know what the problem is. So if oops, let's talk about it. We gotcha. So we could have been for repos. So the it's giving me that error base. So this is one of those you gotta sit and change. I'm just making a little bit of a change here. Let's see, why did that break? Well, let's see. Why did that break? Just a second. We're gonna figure out why it broke. But basically, do it from round 9. Sorry. I think I know what our problem is. It's not this. It's base URL. Watch. I'll figure it out eventually. DNF. Clean all. Update. Oh. Okay. So this is where the block flick ins here. So all I've got to do is set that. You gotta spell it out. That's what it was. Whoops. Yeah, you have to spell it out. I'm sorry. Yep. So one of the things that we ran into yesterday is, remember how with vert install I had to spell it out completely? That's the same issue here. So let's go back to that. Let's see. Repos.d. Base OS repo. Okay. Alright. I think I know what our problem is. The problem was I didn't specify this entire thing out. And because I didn't, that's why this did not work. So now, DNF clean all. Yes, I have to refresh. If you look, it is the right directory. You see? Right. And remember also, you got to add file here. That's the other thing. You got to add file there too. So I just got to make sure that everything was right. And once I do that, now for the count. Why I can't open this is beyond me. But that's why this is not doing what I need this to do, which is to just open up that file. That's spelled right. And it's probably going to fail too because I didn't couldn't open the file. So yeah, we're going to troubleshoot a little bit later, and I'll come back tomorrow and we're going to figure out why this isn't working. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful day.